Wait, did you know the Hokage isn't actually the most powerful person in Konoha? Yeah, that's right. Behind the scenes, there's a group of shadowy figures called the Head Elders who pull the strings on major decisions affecting the entire shinobi world. These aren't just advisors giving friendly suggestions. They have real authority to overrule the Hokage, exile top shinobi, and shape village policy based on their own agendas. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, the Head Elders' influence has become more obvious and more controversial than ever. They're the ones making calls about how to handle threats like Code and the Divine Trees. They're the ones deciding what happens to Boruto after his connection to Momoshiki's karma became public knowledge. They're even influencing which missions get approved and who gets promoted through the ranks. But here's the wild part. Most fans don't fully understand who these elders are, where their power comes from, or why they have more authority than the actual leader of the village. This power structure dates back to the founding of Konoha, rooted in the oldest and most influential clans like the Senju, Uchiha, and Hyuga. The elders represent tradition, political connections, and conservative approaches to village security. They're not elected democratically like the Hokage. They inherit their positions through bloodlines and backroom deals, which means they answer to nobody except themselves and the ancient families they represent. This creates massive tension between progressive leaders like Naruto and Shikamaru, who want to change the shinobi world, and these old guard elders who want to maintain control and tradition at any cost. Their decisions have directly led to some of Boruto's biggest plot twists, including Boruto's current exile status and the village's response to the Otsutsuki threat. Understanding who the head elders are and why they wield so much power is crucial for making sense of the political drama driving Boruto's story forward. Let's start with the basics of how the elder system actually works in Konoha, because it's more complex than most fans realize. When the village was founded by Hashirama Senju and the other clan leaders, they created a system where the Hokage would be the public face and military leader, but major policy decisions would require approval from a council of elders representing the founding clans. This was supposed to prevent any single person from having absolute power and ensure that the interests of all major clans were protected. Sounds reasonable in theory, right? But in practice, it created this hidden power structure where unelected officials could block or manipulate the Hokage's decisions based on their own agendas. In the original Naruto series, we saw glimpses of this through characters like Homura Mitakado and Koharu Utatane, advisors who served alongside the third Hokage and continued influencing village policy for decades. These elders were involved in some of the most controversial decisions in Konoha's history. They supported Danso's root organization and its brutal methods. They pushed for the surveillance and eventual massacre of the Uchiha clan. They made calls about declaring shinobi as missing nin, or approving the use of forbidden jutsu. And here's the key thing. The Hokage often couldn't overrule them without causing a political crisis, because the elders represented the collective interests of Konoha's most powerful families. Fast forward to Boruto's era, and the elder system is still firmly in place. Even though Naruto revolutionized many aspects of shinobi society, ending the cycle of hatred, forming alliances with other villages, protecting Jinchuriki instead of treating them as weapons, he couldn't dismantle the Elder Council's authority without basically starting a civil war. The founding clans still hold enormous political power through wealth, historical prestige, and control over certain jutsu and resources. The elders speak for these clans, which means challenging the elders means challenging the entire old guard establishment. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, specifically, we're seeing the elders' influence play out in several major ways. First, they had significant input on how to handle Boruto after Momoshiki's possession became known, and after Kawaki's reality warping attack framed Boruto as a villain. The elders pushed for exile and surveillance rather than trusting Boruto or investigating the truth more thoroughly. Their conservative approach prioritized village security over individual rights or complicated truths. Second, the elders are making decisions about how Konoha responds to the code threat and divine tree invasion. They're the ones deciding which shinobi get sent on dangerous missions, which intel gets shared with other villages, and how resources get allocated during this crisis. What makes the elders particularly frustrating for progressive characters like Shikamaru is that their authority isn't based on merit or popular support. It's based on tradition and birthright. They don't have to prove they're making good decisions or consider what ordinary shinobi want. They answer only to the clan heads and their own political interests. This creates situations where obviously bad policies get enforced because changing them would require challenging centuries of tradition. The connection to the founding clans is crucial for understanding the elders' power base. Families like the Hyuga maintain enormous influence through their Byakugan bloodline and historical status. The remnants of Uchiha influence still matter, even though the clan was nearly wiped out. The Senju legacy lives on through political connections, even if the clan itself has faded. The elders represent these old power structures, maintaining the status quo that benefits the traditional elite, while newer clans and ordinary shinobi have minimal say in how the village is run. Let's break down why the head elders matter so much for Boruto's story, and what their authority reveals about the shinobi world's deep problems. First major point, the elders represent systemic corruption and the failure of institutions to evolve. Naruto spent his entire life fighting against systems that dehumanized people. The treatment of Jinchuriki, the cycle of hatred between villages, the use of child soldiers, the rigid hierarchy that crushed individual freedom. He became Hokage specifically to change these things. But the elder system shows the limits of what even someone as powerful and determined as Naruto can accomplish when facing entrenched political structures. The elders survived all of Naruto's reforms because they're built into Konoha's foundation. Getting rid of them would require fundamentally restructuring village governance, which risks destabilizing everything during a time when the Otsutsuki threat demands unity and strength. Second point, the Elder's authority over Boruto's fate creates the series' central conflict. When Kawaki used his reality-warping ability to make everyone believe Boruto was the villain, and Kawaki was Naruto's real son, the Elders immediately sided with Kawaki's version of events. They didn't thoroughly investigate. They didn't trust Boruto's track record or consider alternative explanations. They went straight to exile and manhunt mode because that's what their conservative, security-first mindset demanded. This decision directly led to Boruto's current situation. Separated from his sister, unable to protect Konoha openly, forced to operate in the shadows while Code's army threatens everything. If more open-minded or progressive leaders had full authority, they might have handled it differently. They might have investigated more carefully or given Boruto the benefit of the doubt. But the Elders' influence pushed for the harshest response, which created the tragic circumstances driving the entire two Blue Vortex storyline. Third point, the tension between Elders and younger leaders highlights generational conflict as a major theme. Shikamaru represents the new generation trying to navigate impossible situations while dealing with old guard interference. He sees problems more clearly than the Elders, understands modern threats better, and wants to implement more flexible strategies. But he constantly has to compromise or work around elder decisions because he doesn't have the political power to overrule them directly. This mirrors real-world frustrations where younger generations see obvious solutions to problems but can't implement them because older generations control the power structures. It's not just about age, it's about worldview. The Elders grew up in an era of constant war and betrayal, so they default to suspicion and rigid security measures. Younger leaders like Shikamaru grew up in the relatively peaceful era Naruto created, so they prioritize diplomacy and trust. These fundamentally different perspectives create constant friction. Fourth point, the Elders' connection to founding clans raises questions about whether true equality is possible in the shinobi world. Boruto explores themes of legacy, inherited power, and whether bloodlines should determine status. The Elder system is the ultimate expression of bloodline privilege. People wielding enormous authority simply because their ancestors founded the village, not because they've earned it through skill or wisdom. This directly contradicts Naruto's core message that anyone can become great through hard work and determination, regardless of their background. The fact that the Elder system persists into Boruto's era suggests that Naruto's revolution was incomplete. He changed some things, but the fundamental power structures remain intact, which means the cycle of privilege and inequality continues. What makes this especially relevant now is how the Elders' decisions are shaping the response to existential threats. Code's army and the divine trees represent dangers unlike anything previous generations faced. Traditional approaches might not work against enemies this powerful and unpredictable, but the Elders keep pushing conservative strategies because that's all they know. They're fighting tomorrow's wars with yesterday's tactics, and it's putting everyone at risk. Younger shinobi see this clearly but can't force change fast enough because the political system moves so slowly. So, what do you think about the head elders and their authority? Are they a necessary check on the Hokage's power, preventing dictatorships and ensuring multiple perspectives are considered? Or are they outdated obstacles preventing the shinobi world from evolving and adapting to new threats? Should Shikamaru and the younger generation find a way to dismantle the elder system entirely? Or would that cause more problems than it solves? And how much responsibility do the elders bear for Boruto's current exile and the tragedies that resulted from their hasty decisions? The head elders might operate in shadows, but their influence shapes everything happening in Boruto right now. And understanding their power is key to understanding where the story is heading. Retry FA.